Today we are going to talk about how to keep and get your hydrangeas in bloom the best way possible. And so the important thing to note there is there's, again, 4 different categories of hydrangeas. There's arborescens, paniculata, quercifolia or oak leaf hydrangeas, and macrophyllus. All of those are going to need slightly different care in order to get them into bloom and to keep them in bloom to the max potential within the plant. One first step is going to be fertilizer. Fertilizing is a really important thing with all plant material. When you look at these hydrangeas, there's tons of blooms on these. Each of those blooms is pulling a lot of energy to get those blooms to look great. Fertilizer is going to be the key there. Fertilize as the plants break dormancy in the spring, so usually March sometime. Something like our family tree, general purpose, it's a slow release. You just sprinkle it on the ground, and every time you water, it's going to be feeding that plant. Now, if you're like me, I like to give extra, and so I actually like to fertilize occasionally throughout the summer as well. You could do it once a month, you could do once every other month, just to continue to give that plant the nutrients to keep it green, blooming, and healthy. Fertilizer is going to be a huge key to keeping your plants blooming. Now, the next thing to understand is the different types of hydrangeas. So arborescens are the type that are the big, round snowball blooms, and those ones are one that you can actually trim back really far. So if you want to go in there early spring and cut that sucker off at like 3-4 inches from the ground, it's going to grow up and bloom and do its thing the way it's supposed to. It's honestly recommended that we'd go maybe at least 1/3 to half of the way down the plant and trim it back so that we get nice structure to the plant. If we don't trim it at all, it might just look a little leggy. Now, your paniculatas, your quercifolias, and your macrophyllus, those types we really don't want to do a lot of hard pruning on, more so just deadheading. So as these blooms are spent and done, just cutting off the blooms. Now, the paniculatas are a little bit more forgiving. If we want to shape that plant back a little bit, that's going to be okay. But your quercifolias and macrophyllus, if you cut them back too hard in the fall or early spring, you're actually going to be cutting off the blooms. That being said, macrophyllus are the most sensitive, and what we want to do with those in the wintertime is we want to make a mulch mountain around the crown of that plant after it's gone dormant, about 12 to 18 inches tall and wide, and totally insulate the crown of that plant, because that one's going to bloom off of that old growth, and so we really need to protect the crown of that plant. All right, the last thing to note is water. We want to deep soak these when we water them. Sometimes in the summer when it's hot, hydrangeas will just heat wilt because they're really hot. That doesn't necessarily mean they need water. You need to check the soil. But when you water deep soaks, it's going to be about every 5 to 7 days. Deep soak them. Hey, we have a ton of hydrangeas in bloom here at the store. Come by any one of our 3 locations. We'd love to answer your questions.